He's a chemist employed by Wort und Wissen and looks into the chemical aspects of fossils and the sources of life. And here he has for us a presentation from the world of insects. I hope no one here has fear of spiders. Today we're going to look at these wonderful insects. Thank you, Harald. Please come to the front. Thank you for the possibility to make a contribution here. And thank you for everything that has happened already and has been achieved. I have to bring a small correction here in the introduction. Spiders are not insects. And that's, yeah, if we know that, then we know already one thing about. Before I show the first picture, it's a very visual theme. And yeah, maybe you have had a difficult week behind you and now you'd want some more difficult theme. No, this theme of spiders is not so difficult, but maybe there are some people here among us who have stomach ache when they think about spiders because they're afraid of spiders. There are people who have arachnophobia, which is the technical term for fear of spiders, but I can put you at ease. We don't have any spiders here. We only have pictures of spiders. So now you can use this as a therapy if you have a fear of spiders, and you can know nothing can happen. They're going to stay there in the pictures. They cannot move. You can take this as a therapy and use it to persevere. And I want to share with you a little bit of my fascination about spiders. And I hope that you will begin to be also fascinated with spiders. Also, I am not a scientific specialist in spiders. I've not studied spiders, and I've not have no doctorate in spiders. I'm a chemist. But what brought me into this theme is that as a chemist, I can envy these spiders, that they can produce spider silk. And even though we have tried over many years to produce something similar, genetically, chemically, we haven't achieved this. It's, of course, not to be excluded. There are world-famous arachnologues who study this in a deep way. If you are here, I'm sorry that you are listening to me who is not so qualified in this field. So the title of my Traces in Creation, Spiders, 8-legged silk artists. This has to do with that most of spiders that we see are female spiders. So I want to also just express that here at this point. We see here an orb web spider, as we see often in our garden. There's other spiders that do it differently. They bring the web between their legs. And this is they throw out this. They don't throw this web over a great distance, but anything that comes close by, they catch it with this net web, and it's a mobile net. And here's a spider, the black widow, that it's a little bit of horror here because they're very, very dangerous. But the spiders that we often see, as far as danger goes, most spiders, we don't need to have any fear. They are not even capable of getting their poison through the skin. And even when people want to be bitten by a spider, they actually have to apply pressure to the spider, really, pressing them between the fingers till they actually get the bite. When you want to present something and invite people to think along, it's also in a scientific field, you have to be carefully. We realize we always bring our own certain perspectives when we come. And I want to ask you, please, I don't know which category you've put me into, but I'm working in a study community, word and wissen, word and knowledge. And it's a study community who are a group of people who are busily looking into the Word of God, and the knowledge is, or our ability through our senses to recognize and realize what's happening around us. And we take all of that and try and bring it together. And if we take that as an addition, then also, of course, the order is very relevant. The founder of this work put very consciously the word at the beginning of this process. We decided to take the Word of God as a scientific work. We take it as a trusted source for our scientific research. You see this logo here? I was from the beginning involved with this, and I want to explain it briefly, what the thinking is behind it. Word, left at the top, word, and knowledge is at the bottom in the right, and there's a plus between. It's not just a mathematical operation, but it's also the symbol of the cross. And the knowledge is under the cross. And this reminds me, our knowledge, our reasoning, our ability to think is an incredible gift of God. However, the Bible also says it is in Mitleid. Well, yeah, sorry. Now we'll go forward. We want to look at general spiders. They belong to the arthropods. That means that the body is in certain sections, and under this is the arthropods. They are classified into insects and into arachnids and crustaceans. And insecta have 6 legs and so on. And spiders have 8 legs, or they're in sometimes even more than 8 legs. And then we see, so we see the arthropods, and we see here subcategory is the arachnids. And belonging to these arachnids, we have the scorpions and the spiders, the mites. We hardly see them. They're little, very small. They maybe you see them walking across your pages of your book. And then the weaver spiders. So that's the they're tiny spiders with very big legs. And then when we look down from going on from the spiders, there are hunting spiders. We see web spiders. These we see a lot. Also lurking spiders and jumping spiders. There are many others, but just that you have an idea of, they're not just those that we see in the corner of our ceiling of our room. There are a lot of spiders. When we take the web spiders, we see there are very different. There are orb web spiders. We see these we know. Then there are others who make funnel webs. And lots of spiders making many other types, canopy webs, or many forms of different types of webs. So how many different types of species are there, spider species? Do you think there are, what, 1,000? Anyone have an idea? 51,465 accepted species of spiders in the World Spider Catalogue. Yes, they're accepted and described here in this is the catalogue of World Spider Catalogue in the Natural History Museum here in Bern. For World Spider Catalogue, so that you can realize how many mammals, diverse mammals, are there, from the pygmy mouse to the great whale. So in the American Society of Mammals, there are 6,649 species of mammals. Sorry, now I have no feed. I think they're working on it. I can't hear anymore. Still waiting for the feed. I have no feed. So I'm back online. Here is an orb web spider. Oh, so this is all spiders from the world history contained in amber. We see here this spider is conserved within the net, the orb web. And also we see here's a drain fly, or also called a sink or a sewer fly, in the web of, and here an ant on a spider thread, all contained in Dominican amber. Here we can see many things. They appear to us when they're in books how big they are, this amber with the fossils contained. But as you see here, they're actually from the early chalk age. They are so small, minute. When we magnify it, we see here we see the different threads, but they've been filled in with a pen so that it becomes clearer for us. Down here, we see the prey, which has been trapped in the web. And then we look at this and we amplify it even more under the microscope. We see here the prey. And we see they amplified more, and we see little glue or sticky points which keeps the prey in the net. And here we see also a fossil, very classical fossil in stone from Australia. And you see here so clearly we can see what it is. But you can see here, here's the claw. And with the electrical microscope, we can look at it very clearly, very well preserved. We can see here very clearly, this is the trapdoor spider. Very robust spiders with very stable legs. And they lurk here in by this trap hole, and they stick out their claws ready. And when they recognize a certain movement, tremor, then this insect jumps out and grabs its prey. So now we don't want to only look at pictures, we want to also think actively. A few things we want to consider while we watch and listen to this presentation. I want to invite you to think critically, to come along. We have here two contradictory thoughts. Faith is independent of the natural sciences. I mean, faith doesn't need science, life science. If you think about the foundation of physics, Jesus has invited us to look to the Father and to trust in Him. But the faith is, so we would say the faith doesn't need life sciences. Or faith and life science, natural science belong together. Which is it? Is it one or is it the other? But it's both. I want you to think both. As Christians, we don't have to study sciences. But as Christian and as enthusiastic scientist, I take it as clear that what we believe and what we observe comes together. So science, I'm going to talk about life sciences and the natural science. Certain methods are used in the natural science which have also then corresponding consequences. And my wish is, when you are here, my wish is that we give our that we take this into consideration consciously. That I don't just take 2 or 3 arguments that suit me and say then this is the proof that science has proven that God exists, but this is not true. Then the natural scientist gathers data, and 2 things are important. First thing, empirical. It's very important for the natural scientist that his physical senses can see the information and the experiences are real. And the second element is natural scientists can only probe things that have rules and that function. The things that happen as exceptions are not the things that are studied by natural scientists. He gathers his data together. He makes his protocol. All these things are brought together. And then it becomes exciting when this scientist gathers his ideas together, expresses them. He's seeking then possible explanations and formulates a hypothesis. How can this work together? Everything is allowed. And then it produces a model to explain how these things could be working together. And then you take this model, this hypothesis, and we test it. Does this idea prove itself in the light of all the different previous experiences we have? This is one of the main reasons why we actually publish our results as natural scientists. We look from all the different perspectives. Is this meaningful? But there can also be some. This can also can be some problems with this. And then when it doesn't work, people say, we give up and maybe we go get a different, easier job. But in this cycle, we continue to gather more data. We just do the tests. We express our ideas, speculate, formulate hypotheses, and we continue to research. It's a very pragmatical operation. And can we explain things in these ways, understand things? And so, in this way, we can find certain things, very technical and useful things. We never actually do this in a very objective way, a neutral way, as Christians. We can we may give great effort, but it's very difficult for us to be neutral. We have a certain worldview in the back of our heads, a certain way of thinking. And natural scientists, even though they're unconsciously so, they're trained in a certain way, which the result of which is, without going into it in great detail, it means um, sorry. Oh, so supernatural sources. Okay, so supernatural events or possibilities are within the perspective of natural sciences absolutely excluded. This way of thinking excludes supernatural because it's a natural science. So now we looked here at the different types of spiders. Here's a spider who has woven an orb web, has a very special structure. We see here where the different spider web threads, they have half circular opening. These surface when we, as with salad sauce, if we can mix oil and vinegar, and then if we leave it long enough sitting, it separates again. Here's something similar. There's a certain surface covering, and it's the stuff that is sticky on this web, so that when an insect, a prey, flies into this web, it stays stuck. But not every spider has such a sticky stuff in their web. Some have what they call a cribellum over their net. In Schwaben, we would be saying it's like a machine that produces spätzle. Just imagine a sieve with very fine holes, and the spider puts her web there, and very fine threads come through. And it has the same effect when an insect, a prey, lands on this web. She sinks into this certain surface, and by the time she can find her way out, the spider has already grabbed her. So we thought this is a type of a net, fine hairs. So here we see someone had thought about something. So looking at web threads is just amazing. Here in the corner. these spider webs, they would become dusty. You can actually milk this web threads. You can remove them from a spider and look at them. The spider from the ceiling that comes down, the problem is the spiders, when they come down, they have not the problem that it when they're coming down, they don't just spin so that they can't hit the wall in the right way, because this is not just simply a thread. It has a very specific structure, and when you look at it amplified, you can see, wow, there's an incredible structure there which hinders this type of spin. They can come directly down even when there's wind. So here we're looking at load capacity. We see that the web silk is extremely elastic and stretchable. And we see all the different things we have, like nylon, Kevlar, even high strength steel, wool, carbon fiber, are clearly less stretchable, have less of a load capacity. It's just amazing, the strength of this web silk. So do you see this here? Can you see the spider? This is the abdomen here. And here we see the web, where the web comes from. This is where the silk is produced. And they don't just make a thread. They make threads with very different qualities. Here we see in the red different types of thread. The one which they use to drop themselves. And this green one, this is where the glue or the sticky stuff is produced. Also, there's a place where they produce the egg cocoon. All these different aspects. This is not just one type of thread, many different types. This red one here shows here on one end where the production begins. We have a pH, so the acid, and the alkali. We have a pH 8. And as it continues to go forward into the gland, we have a pH at the end there, which is less than 5. This is truly a chemical production process here. So here we have a garden spider, and this one spider produces 7 different types of web silk. Here's one, the one that she drops herself with. When you pull that, you can't. It's not very elastic, because otherwise, if this thread particularly was very elastic, the spider would be yo-yoing up and down. But when it's stronger. But when she makes this web, this orb web, you can pull and pull and pull and pull and pull, and slowly then the strength of this thread is exposed. And if she built So here we have this is a part of a web, and we see 3 sections, but there's something special. They have extreme application of power or force. They somehow, the spider has a possibility to amplify the force. When she builds her web, she goes here up at the top, and with 4 of her legs, she pulls this thread together, and with the first and second leg, she holds the rest of the thread, and then she lets the legs loose at a different time, so that there's more thread and the other insects are more quickly caught in the net, because different tensions at different places for different purposes. So they also use their silk for many other things. Some spiders can fly, use their silk to fly. Here we have 2 dwarf spiders, and they've placed themselves at the top of a blade of grass, waiting for the right type of wind. And when it suits, they send up their silk, and they just fly away with on the power of this thread. How can they do this? I've never seen this happen with an airplane or with a helicopter, yes, but with a thread. Maybe you know this effect in autumn. When you see sometimes in an Indian summer, you see these dwarfs, these small spiders just ballooning on threads through the air. They sit there, they let the thread out, and then they're just carried away. Here's also a spider from the black widows, the redback spider. And look how the size of the prey, this gecko is caught in her net, her web. You would think this shouldn't be any problem for a gecko. He's going to destroy this web. This spider makes a very unstructured web, but it's made in such a way that when the gecko makes contact with this web, he's actually lifted up. He's just lifted up into the air. And then the spider only has to come close and bite with her poisonous fangs and wait until a few days until the food is ready. Here we have, maybe we've seen something like this. All spiders, they can produce silk, but this here is a changeable crab spider. It's lurking in the blossom of the flower, and she's able to change herself and adapt to the color of the flower, and waits then for a visitor to the flower, and then you see, oh look, here's a spider, can't fly away. You're taking your picture and your photo. Look again. That's butterfly is possibly surprised by this changeable crab spider. And as this insect came to do his work, that was the end. So we also, there's spiders have already been to space. NASA took spiders into space to see whether they could if when spiders don't know because of gravity where's up and where's down, when there's only microgravity, it's harder to really know where's below and where's above. Can they still build nets, build webs? And we see here, it's a bit of a chaotic type of a web, but they made still, even with microgravity, they could make their webs, spin their webs. I've said that spiders are quite asocial, but there are also social spiders. We don't have these type of spiders, but here we have in the tropical forests whole areas covered with spider webs, and all of these spiders work together for hunting, for food, for breeding. They work together. Here's Ingo Rechenberg, this man. He died in 2021. He was a professor for machine engineering. And he went to the Sahara with his wife in 2006. And he wanted to look into reptiles and how they can move in the sand. That was his idea for this outing. But he found a spider. And this spider he called Tabaca. And this spider is described as a tangleweb spider. And this spider is just incredible. This spider, there's not many animals in the way moving in the sun on the Sahara during the day, but this spider is. She sits in the sand. She can't move because of the sand. So either she rolls herself into a ball and rolls down the dune, or she does cartwheels down the side of the dune. But she can achieve double speeds of what she should normally move. But this spider does what we call a flick-flack maneuver. When they have a lot of stress, they do this flick-flack down the side of the sand. And to do this, achieve this, she needs to keep all eight of her legs under complete control. And this man, because he is a machine builder maker, it fascinated him. So he thought, if I could make an automobile that could move in such a way. He made it. This is here. He tested in the Sahara. And he said, because of contact with and tension with the ground, this is a far superior way of moving for the amount of energy that it takes by touching the ground. And all learned from his Tabaca spider. He hoped that cars could be produced in according to this type of pattern for traveling on the moon or in such environments. So here we have spiders. Many of them have different colors. We see many that are just very plain colors and very dull brown, and so. But actually, spiders can have be very colorful. Maybe they will one time arrive here too. Here you see the different types of spiders and the different colors, and they use their colors. Here is a man a male in courtship. They're not just bright or dark, but when we see here that they have many colors, we see also that spiders must also be able to see colors. It's not just black and white for them. So here we see spiders can be very colorful. Here's a great potpourri of different colorful spiders. This book here, it's down below, it's also in German. Everything you need to know about spiders. Yeah, spiders. Maybe I should have adopt a different perspective and get such a book and see such many very good pictures and many good explanations to spiders. Some spiders actually consume and nourish themselves with vegetarian. Probably the spider, sometimes you see the spider there sitting in the bedroom window waiting for prey, and you think that's some life. They wait until something comes their way. But here we have a spider. He makes his web, spins her web, and when the sticky surface wears off, she recycles this web. And of course, that's in this web, which she's now consuming, there's many pollen and different types of additives from the nature have landed there, and she's consuming it. But in this case, they need, of course, more protein if they're going to reproduce, but here's a way for them also to survive. Here we have the yellow ghost spider. So basically this spider has now the pollen package of the bee. Even though the bee could escape, the pollen pack remained, and this spider is consuming that. Spiders, actually, they only consume fluids, and your typical prey are insects, and they have a very hard shell outside, and inside they're very soft. And what does the spider do? She bites, this poison enters the system, and then she waits, and in the end, she drinks this insect, and had no problem with digestion. Here we have, this is the jumping spider, and we know that this spider is nourished from vegetarian diet. Here we have, for example, on the thorny kangaroo acacia, the ants live there, and they live on the food of this tree. And this spider realized certain what they call Belgian body types of nourishment, which the ants feed on. She also feeds on them, and they investigated this spider and found in her, yes, only vegetation is nourished from vegetarian diet. As the name of this jumping spider, yeah, Bagheera Kipling, it's from the guy who wrote the Jungle Book. So soon we're through. Now I have to show you here. There's one spider in clean flowing water. There's a spider that lives underwater. She has no gills. She needs air, but she brings practically her whole life is she's underwater. She spins her web underwater. And here we see a pair of courting water spiders. How do they get the air? They go up onto the surface, and with their threads, they go up onto the surface and they stick out their abdomen. And then she slaps it down. And as you see here, this under this silver shining abdomen, here's an air bubble, and she's able to stabilize it and brings it down. And and here on beneath the water, sir, she has made a diving bell out of this with her silk. It's like a submarine. It's amazing engineering feat. And the spider doesn't need any tools or anything. She's just able to accomplish this, and she lives there. And from here, she goes out to hunt. Little tiny fish will go by, and she goes out, grabs it, and brings it here inside. And she also lays her eggs here. She rears her young here. Here we have a jumping spider that some years ago we see. Here she is nursing her young people. It looks like they're being suckling spiders who are drinking milk. So we realized here's the underbody of this spider. And if we look here, amplification, they're actually, she's dropping milk. And her young ones come and they looked really into it here. And they said, these young come and receive this milk. This is not typical, but we just want to show you that this also is happening. Spiders who are suckling their young. One spider that I find very fascinating is this bola spider. It belongs to the orb weaving spiders. They have very sparse and very little threads. They make one thread, and on the bottom of this thread, they make one sticky ball. And then she takes her waits in the banana trees in Brazil with her bola, and she waits till a moth comes, and then suddenly she throws this sticky ball or bola, throws it out, and she hits that prey, and she has her food. So we took this spider into the laboratory and looked into it. We found out that this is not just a sticky ball, but we found out it's not just a sticky ball, but it's also exactly the stuff which is the sexual attraction for the moth. So it sends out a scent that the moth is seeking when he wants to mate. So he actually draws in this moth specifically with this ball of fragrant sticky stuff. So we see natural science, our observations are not just, well, it's very fascinating. The question that moves me is, who in all of creation, when we are enthusiastic about creation, we see we're very enthusiastic about the creation, but there's also the other side. There's much that we can be amazed at. There's lots of things that point to our Creator, because God has made all of this. It's not only clear. There is also the worm inside of this creation, the other side. Here we see here a cape from spider silk. 80 people in Madagascar for 4 years. This golden silk spider had such a big size. Men can use it to catch fish. 4 years, they got more than a million of these. They milked 1 million of these spiders for their silk for 4 years. And then in 2012 in London, in Victoria and Albert Museum, they exhibited this cape, which they made from those million spiders, which took 4 years to take all the silk. In the Bible, we don't see much about spiders, and when it's not good. We have 2 verses about spiders themselves. One verse is in the beginning of Job, and he says there, if you don't believe in or trust in God, it's like there's a web of a spider that's is useless, for nothing, good for nothing. It's a negative picture. In Isaiah 59, there's a second verse where spiders appear. People who don't trust in God are compared like a otter, viper eggs, and then the viper comes out and you are bitten. Or it's like someone who would trust in spider web or spider thread or spider silk. The production costs for this cape was €350,000 just for the production. I don't know where it is now. Of course, it's has no price. Despite that spiders are negatively mentioned in the Bible, I hope that I could show you a little. It's worth it to look a little closer at spiders. There's so many things that God has so many thoughts about so many things. This spider, we could take weeks and weeks to look into this theme. It's so fascinating. In my backpack, I have it says when things don't work, or let's see, or when he's waiting on a train, or when things don't work, when you think the train isn't on time, and well, take the time to use the time in a good way. For example, maybe there's spiders there, not on the track itself, but around about, and you can use the time in this way. When you look into the skin of a spider, go investigate yourself, go find your spider and have a look at their skin and their body, and you can look, even there's lots of exfoliated skins of spiders hanging there. Then you can take that and you can look at it more clearly with a magnifying glass, or if you have more of a possibility, look into the eyes, you can see so much of these spiders. Now, uh, this is the beginning, and there's more and better things waiting for you in this weekend. So just that you have some idea, that this theme can be very exciting. But it's not just a pool from which I can serve myself with something that gives me an argument that will be suitable to to put my work colleague in his place about nature and God. And I want us to be enthusiastic and hold it back in our head, have in the back of our head. They're not, I don't want them to be, my goal is not that they're taking in whatever knowledge I have in my head about the natural science, but that they are being drawn to Jesus. So we hold back a little bit of our enthusiasm so long as we can put the real goal and hold that before us. So I hope in the future you can experience one or the other of these spiders, and don't grab them with the vacuum cleaner. Please take a glass and a postcard and take them. And you have to get rid of them more than 10 meters away from where you found them. Otherwise, their thread is so long they can pull themselves back in to where they came from. So I thank you for your patience. No aggressive reactions. Thank you. Thanks for your patience.